So on a night of at least 10 competing storylines in Los Angeles, of course, the big story will be LeBron James actually playing basketball on an NBA court in a regular season game with his own son, Bronny. Bronny played about 2.5 minutes in the game, went 0 for 2. Had 1 rebound in the game. The Lakers ended up winning 110-103, but another one of the big storylines, of course, was JJ Redick actually won his first game as an NBA head coach. It was his first victory since he coached a youth basketball team. I'm just saying. Then there's Anthony Davis, who actually scored 36 points tonight and honestly looked like a legitimate most valuable player award winner throughout most of tonight's game. In fact, if you listened really closely towards the end of the game, you could actually hear a couple Los Angeles Lakers fans actually chanting MVP. On the Minnesota Timberwolves side of the fence, there was the question of how will Julius Randle and Anthony Edwards actually get along on the court. That answer was certainly answered at one point tonight when it was clear that Julius Randle did not look comfortable playing for the Minnesota Timberwolves. Then, of course, there was Dante DiVincenzo. How would he look playing for the Timberwolves in a regular season game? It was a night, if you will, just absolutely full of storylines in Los Angeles. Welcome to the NBA Rundown. I'm Dave DeBaugh, and thanks so much for tuning in. And now this is the first night of the National Basketball Association season. Earlier in the night, the Celtics easily handled the Knicks 132-109. The Knicks were just completely depleted before this game actually started. And of course, if you were to take a look at the stats line from that particular game, the thing that would absolutely stand out is Jason Tatum. As I said earlier in the day, just has an absolutely huge chip on his shoulders from what happened with USA Basketball. Came out and scored 37 points tonight, had 10 assists and 4 rebounds in the game. As for the Los Angeles Lakers game, congrats goes out to JJ Redick, who, as I mentioned, absolutely got his first win as a head coach. Rory played well, 18 in tonight's win. LeBron had 16, 5 rebounds, 4 assists in the game. But Anthony Davis was just dominant, 36 points, 16 rebounds, and 4 assists. Austin Reeves does what Austin Reeves does, 12 points, 9 rebounds, and 4 assists in the game. Jackson Hayes also played well tonight. Seemed as if he was always above the rim. He had 10 points in the Laker victory. I would have liked to actually seen Dalton Connect actually get some more minutes in tonight's game. He scored 5 points, 2 assists, and 1 rebound, and played well while he was actually in the game for those whopping 16 minutes. Hey, JJ Redick, you might want to consider giving some of Gabe Vincent's time over to Dalton Connect. I am just saying. In terms of the Timberwolves, and as you all know, I'm both a Los Angeles Laker fan and a Minnesota Timberwolves fan. And we can get into how that actually happened. You can go listen to some of the other podcasts and you'll hear the story on how that all happened. But Anthony Edwards played well tonight, 27 points. Rudy Gobert, 14 rebounds, 13 points. Julius Randle in his debut played pretty good, 16 points, 9 rebounds, and 4 assists, but just seemed completely out of place. And in fact, I would say that the Minnesota Timberwolves offense actually looks stagnant. Now, the thing about this Timberwolves team, at least from last year, which I was expecting to see a little bit more of at the very beginning of this season, was some defensive intensity, and we didn't really see that tonight. I think they're still trying to figure out how to put the pieces in place to actually make this particular team work better on defense. Of course, they're not going to be facing Anthony Davis every night, and certainly there are a bunch of other teams in the NBA that they match up with significantly better. So it's not time to hit the eject button on this particular trade yet. Dante DiVincenzo, I think it would have been great if he had a couple more looks in tonight's game. He started off slow, played better in the second half, and finished with 10 points, 3 assists, and 3 boards on the game. Now, in terms of the main story of the night, or what's supposed to be the main story of the night, of course, is Bronny actually playing with LeBron. And it was one of those things, as we all know, that the Lakers really just sort of wanted to get out of the way. It is clear that Bronny James is going to need some time developing. Let's just be fair about it. In the National Basketball Association, rookies seldomly really figure it out right away. You're going to have to give Bronny James some time. You're going to have to give him a year. You're going to have to give him 2 years, maybe 3 years before he's really ready to become a solid role player in the association. I will say this. I thought Bronny handled the situation well. He handled the post-game press conferences well. I thought LeBron handled everything well. I thought the Los Angeles Lakers organization did right by both LeBron and Bronny by getting it out of the way in the first half of the game, as well as for the fans who were there to actually see history take place. In terms of what will this mean down the road for Bronny James, if he's able to get some serious minutes in G League basketball this year and is able to improve significantly, you could see a time in which the Los Angeles Lakers actually really did count on Bronny James to give them 10 minutes a game at some point. We are a long ways away from it, and I think it's important to note that we should be giving Bronny James time. Take Gary Payton Jr. as an example. He's a player that took 4 years before he fully developed into what he actually became. Remember, Gary Payton had been cut, he had been cut, he had been cut, and he had been cut. And in fact, the Golden State Warriors were ready to hand him a video ops job before he eventually was given one more chance with the Golden State Warriors. And we saw and have seen what Gary Payton Jr. has actually turned into. I guess the point I'm trying to make, at least at this point, is if Bronny James really has a will, then I believe there is a way for him to actually be successful in the National Basketball Association. In terms of like overreacting to the Lakers beating the Timberwolves and what does that mean for the rest of the season, it's just too early to tell. As I mentioned, I think the Timberwolves will work on some stuff. Their defense will improve. They won't be playing Anthony Davis every night. They'll certainly figure things out. The Timberwolves will be just fine. I have the Timberwolves actually winning the Western Conference this year when everybody else has OKC doing that. It's just too early to tell. As for the Lakers, I thought JJ Redick actually did a good job coaching the team tonight. It will be interesting to see how he handles the shooting slumps that this Los Angeles Lakers team will most certainly go through at times throughout the year. But as far as tonight goes, congrats goes out to JJ Redick and the Los Angeles Lakers on their victory. All right. This is our very first NBA rundown for this particular season. Thanks so much for tuning in. If you are new to the channel, please go ahead and subscribe. And of course, like this video. Every subscription and like certainly helps us out and helps us grow. We also have an audio version of the podcast as well, so do check that out. That's available on all of the platforms: iHeartRadio, Spotify, Apple, etc., etc., etc. For the NBA Rundown, I'm Dave DeBaugh, wishing you all a tremendous rest of your sports viewing day. To the cool new music, we go.
This is Phoenix.